So, you've gotten the all clear from your family. You've checked every YouTube video you could find on smokers, and you've put down the deposit. Now, you're in the middle of a 2 to 18-month waiting period. What do you do? Well, there's one thing that is critical to your smoking success that is talked about so little, but you have to get it taken care of, and we'll discuss it some today. While we're doing that, I figure we'll cook up a tri-tip steak too. I love this cut of meat, and it's so hard to mess it up that it's right up my alley. I didn't even know about this cut until about 5 years ago when one of my favorite YouTube creators, Cooking with Rye, professed his affection for this steak. It's hard to find in the Midwest, that Costco Bobby doesn't carry it, but I did notice it around Thanksgiving, and it was inside my grocery store and they were testing it out. Anyway, I was able to find this one by my local butcher, and while he did a pretty good job of trimming it up, I'm going to get a little bit more of this unwanted stuff off. So what should you be doing while you're waiting for the delivery of your smoker? Simple. There are 3 critical ingredients to barbecue: fire, food, and fuel. Fire, well, that happens on the day of. Food, you can figure that out like a week before you're actually cooking something. But you absolutely got to put a game plan together for your fuel. For offset smokers, that fuel is wood. Gone are the days when you could just pull up to the hardware store and stock up on charcoal. Well, technically, you could run a smoker on charcoal, but you'd be run through so much of it that it just doesn't make sense. So you may say, easy bro, they sell firewood bundles at the hardwood store and outside the grocery store. True. However, that will become really expensive, not to mention having to run to the store for wood every time you want to fire up the smoker. If you want to cook up a brisket, you're probably going to have to pick up about 4 or 5 of those bundles. Use your waiting time to do the research for your area for what wood you can find. I highly recommend sticking with the hardwoods that are native to your area. First, it will be readily available at virtually any time of the year. Second, it will be a whole lot cheaper. Sure, we all want to get that authentic Texas or Carolina style barbecue, but if you live in Ohio, good luck finding post oak or some pecan wood. Go on Facebook Marketplace, go on Craigslist, use Google, ask a friend. Just find all the different wood suppliers in your area, and then the real work begins. Now back to my steak. As for seasoning, today I'm going to use Killer Hogs AP Rub and then put this Midwest dust on it from Boar's Night Out. Just get all the sides and cover it pretty good. If you choose to dry brine your meat, just be careful about the amount of salt that you put on the meat. We're reverse searing this tri-tip, meaning I'm going to put this in the smoker until the internal temperature reaches around 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we hit that temperature, I'm going to move over to the flat top surface over the firebox, then cook on each side for about a minute per side, and I'll keep doing that until the internal temperature of the steak gets closer to 135, 140. We like our meat a little bit more on the well done side around here. The ideal is to find a high-quality wood supplier that will deliver wood to your house, well-seasoned, sorted, etc. Because you have time on your side, you can be a little more lenient on the seasoning side because the wood can season on your property while you're waiting for your smoker to come. Try to learn the differences between species. At a minimum, learn how to identify a hardwood from a softwood so that you're not buying something that you can't burn in your smoker. Burning softwoods is not recommended at all, and actually can be quite toxic to the consumer of any food that comes off of that. Not to mention it will build up a ton of creosote inside of your smoker, and it's just really nasty to deal with. Figure out where you're going to store your wood. Because wood piles can provide a safe place to live for your yard critters, you might want to keep that stack away from your house. You don't have to go to the extreme that I went to, but away from your building structure, but close enough to access on a regular basis. If you choose to be like me and build some woodpile stacking system that you saw off YouTube, recognize it's not foolproof. Just after I had built this and stacked my wood, some deer that were probably used to walking through the area knocked the whole thing down. I had to restack the wood again. It hasn't happened ever since that very first weekend, but it's always in the back of my head. The great part of this is that you can figure out what you want to do and how it will best work for you. If you wait all the way until the day your smoker comes to start thinking and planning for this, you'll probably be heading down to the Home Depot, buy a couple of bundles of wood, and then realize that you're going to need a whole lot more wood once you actually start cooking on your smoker. Wood pricing varies based on your area and local supply. Importing wood from other areas of the country is doable, but shipping wood is expensive. Plus, one of the cool things about barbecue is how it can really highlight the region. What better way to show off the native land than by using the wood native to the area? Simple supply and demand economics will tell you that if you see lots of beautiful maple trees around you, you will probably be able to get a lot of maple cheap. If you've never ever seen what a mesquite tree looks like in real life, you're probably going to be struggling to find that within a radius of your house at a reasonable price. The main trick to preparing tri-tip steak is making sure that you cut against the grain. The grain changes direction kind of towards the point, so you have to do that as well. You have to make sure you're making that adjustment as you're moving across the meat. After that, there's really nothing to it. Firewood has its own measurement system with cords, faces, ricks, truckloads. The important thing is to figure out how much you're paying for what volume of wood. There is a technical definition for a cord of wood, and then it's defined by 128 cubic feet of wood. Traditionally, this is measured as 8 feet long, 4 foot high, and 4 foot deep. A face cord is basically a third of a cord. In some parts of the country, a face cord is also called a rick. Finally, a truckload depends on how big the bed of the truck is, how big the wheel well is, was the wood hand tossed or stacked in a truck, and this is where you have to be more careful. Don't be afraid to ask questions, just recognize that selling wood is a lot of people's side hustles, so they may get back to you on a bit of a delay, and they may not have all the answers immediately. Questions to ask include what kind of wood is in the mix. They should have a pretty good idea of what kind of wood they're selling. And when was that wood actually split? This helps you figure out where in the seasoning process that wood is. If they're selling it by the truckload, just ask what kind of truck they'll be delivering in and whether they're going to stack it or hand toss it into the bed. So after all that hard work doing the reverse sear, it's time for us to give us a taste test. I really enjoyed tri-tip. As you can see from the cut when we cut it previously, the coloring came out really nice. Got a good smoke ring around the edge, if you can kind of make that out. We prefer our meat a little bit more on the done side, and so we're not as rare as you might see some other folks go, but taste is still good, and it's incredibly juicy looking on the board. So let's go ahead and give this a little bit of a taste. Tri-tip is always good. AP Rub, incredibly balanced. Just a good flavoring of some salt, pepper, garlic, and whatever else Killer Hogs puts inside of that. And then that Midwest dust just provides an extra balance of just a bunch of really good flavors to it. The meat came out really, really well. If you've never reverse seared a tri-tip, I'd highly recommend it. It comes out well, and it's just a good bite to eat. Buy one of these tri-tips and you'll probably be able to feed, a family of 4 or 5 pretty easily. So It's a good cook, not too long, maybe 2 hours or so. So it's worth giving it a try. All right, now take it easy. Well, you made it to the end. You might make it to the end of another one of my videos. Why don't you check one of those out below? Take it easy.